All right, it looks like it had moved to 5. I moved it up to 6.
Okay, good. Okay,
All
okay, good.
right,
And while you
all
did
right.
that, Vince, guess what?
We just went live.
We just went live.
All right, here we go.
Yes, I'm waiting for the ticker to show me that there's actually somebody watching us because there's no sense in
Right,
saying hello to nobody. Um,
right, right, right.
and the ticker has not moved just yet. It takes some time for it to
Yes, yes. It'll take some minutes.
chime in. And, oh, we have someone who has chimed in, Vince. We
All right,
officially have someone watching us.
all right.
Uh, I believe they're watching us on YouTube. I could be
Very
wrong,
nice.
but we shall soon find out. Hey,
Okay.
what's up? Welcome to the Micheaux. I'll start over because Vince stepped on my introduction. Um,
I didn't. I literally didn't say a word.
no, you didn't mean to, but technically it did kind of step on it. So I'm just going to restart. That's all, Vince. Don't worry about it. Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission, Two Men, One Podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you another entry in our celebration of Black Music Month. And today we are bringing you a remake. It's a remake of a 1976. I don't know if you could call it a classic film, but it certainly is
Hmm.
a cult classic in black households of the 80s and 90s. But was it a remake begging to be made? We
Hmm.
shall see as we review Vince's selection this evening, 2012's Sparkle, starring Jordin Sparks, Carmen Ejogo, Tika Sumpter, Derek Luke, Mike Epps, and in her final performance, Whitney Houston.
Hmm.
But before we do that, as always, we like to thank each and every one of you who are out there watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. Shout out to each and every one of you. Thank you. We appreciate you. You can always leave us a comment in the chat to let us know that you are watching. We invite everyone, if you are watching us on Facebook, if you can go to facebook.com/StreamYard, give them permission. We'll be able to see your name as it pops up in our comment stream, just like the names of Aaron Fry and Deborah Battle are popping up. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Deborah.
Thank you for watching us here on live as we are streaming for you. And as always, we like to thank everyone who participates in our Micheaux Mission Facebook group and likes and follows us on all these social medias. And those who are, we are lucky enough, who go over to Apple Podcasts. And guess what, Vince? They give us reviews.
Yay!
We got a review from Mama Wellick,
Hey, Mama Wellick.
who says, "Can I go to the movies with these guys?" Yes! Exclamation points. We also
Lynn's
got,
gonna get pretzel bites and dip them in cheese, though. So just be ready for that strangeness.
that's not strangeness. I guarantee Mama Wellick is going to reach over and, "Can I have some of your pretzel bites?" And I'm going to say, "Of course, Mama, please do." Anyway, we also got a review from Lane1248.
Hey, Lane1248.
Gave us a 5-star review saying, "Super fun. I love the dynamic between the hosts and the fun way they break down films."
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very
And
much appreciated.
and we got a review from Ta Has Spoken, 5-star review, a
Oh,
podcast for all types of moviegoers.
oh, thank you, Ta. You have spoken.
Well, not quite. Now she has spoken, or Ta has spoken, thusly. "I have been listening to your podcast for a few months now, and let me say how much joy I have found in it. I appreciate the level of respect to give to good movies and bad, not playing favorites. I would suggest all newcomers to listen to the acrimony episode to
We're gonna have to start sending Tyler Perry some cupcakes or something.
I would suggest all newcomers listen to the Acrimony episode to feel the passion you have for movies and to get a deep belly laugh. You referenced Daughters of the Dust so much. I am currently watching it now. And that's good stuff.
Yeah,
Anybody
sir.
we can turn on to that film,
I was about to say.
You reminded me why I love certain movies, validated why I thought certain movies were bad, and I could put my finger on why, and made me hold strong to the movies I love, and you didn't, Under the Cherry Moon, even if for nostalgia's sake. Keep up the excellent work. Now, Ta has spoken. Oh, look at Vince's shirt. Hold on, Vince. Look at that shirt. Rekka Crew. It's a Rekka Crew, right? No, Rekka Stew.
Rekka Stowe.
Rekka Stowe.
It's
Rekka
Stowe. If you want a Sam Cooke album, where would you go?
The Rekka Stowe.
We didn't even plan that.
Oh my God! Where did you get that shirt, Vince? Never mind. I don't even want to know. That's yours. That's an original.
It is embarrassing how many T-shirts that I've bought during the coronavirus. And then you get in the algorithm and they just start sending you stuff. Hey, don't you want to buy this?
And of course you say,
yeah, sure.
I think I do.
I think I do. $23 T-shirt. You're calling my name again.
Oh my goodness, dude! Is there some criteria to your T-shirt collecting, Vince, or is it just the more obscure the better?
The more obscure the better, of course. Lynn, I can't see your face. It's weird.
What do you mean you can't see my face?
Because you pulled me up, so I guess you could see the shirt. But now I don't have the split screen, so I felt like a crazy person.
I forgot that I did that. I got so used to looking at your face.
I like my oatmeal a little lumpy with some raisins. That's exactly what I said. Yeah, don't do that. That was weird.
I got so used to looking at your face, I just forgot that. Oh yes, that's right. It's supposed to be two of us.
It's supposed to be two of us, right?
But they all tune in for your face anyway, so that's all.
Right. Oh, of course, yes.
That's all that matters. So I'm giving the people what they want.
Right,
okay?
right.
We always reference that people in our Facebook group have a lot of times sending us, talking about things and sending us information on what's happening in the world of movies and television. Did you see this, Vince, where someone posted the trailer for the new Independent Lens special that aired this past Monday on PBS, Recorder, the Marion Stokes Project?
I did. We were talking before we start taping. I forgot that it was on the other night, and I turned to it. It was halfway through. And the 15 minutes that I saw, I immediately turned. You know how you can do the DVR and say upcoming shows?
Mm-hmm.
Like I immediately went to tape it because I said, I need to see this from the very beginning because it looked absolutely fascinating.
A fiercely intelligent radical activist who became a fabulously wealthy recluse in her later years, Marion Stokes was dedicated to furthering and protecting the truth, so much so that she recorded American television 24 hours a day for over 30 years. Long before the term fake news entered the national conversation, the Philadelphia-based Stokes recognized the shifting nature of the media and the importance of protecting the truth. Working in television in the late 60s, she believed in the power of the medium to inform or misinform the public. So therefore, she determined that a comprehensive archive of national media would one day be invaluable and began recording television broadcasts in 1979, starting with news broadcasts of the Iranian hostage crisis at the dawn of the 24-hour news cycle and continuing until her death in 2012. Oh my God. Filmmakers Matt Wolf helped compile over 70,000 videotapes that captured revolutions, lies, wars, triumphs, catastrophes, bloopers, talk shows, and commercials. Stokes' visionary and maddening project nearly tore her family apart. This is a special recorder, the Marion Stokes Project, which premiered on PBS Independent Lens this past Monday, June 15. You can check your local listings for when it will be rebroadcast in your area. I missed it, but this is definitely must-see television for me.
Yeah, and it's right. I was about to say it's right up our alley.
Right.
It's right, like this examination of the media. This, I mean, I guess it's not found. Found footage.
No,
but just her documenting of it. It the 10 minutes I saw were electric.
Wow, man. Wow.
Yeah.
I can imagine if I was recording television 24 hours a day for the past 30 years, there would be nothing but a binge of Looney Tunes cartoons, the Justice League Unlimited series, Saint Elsewhere, and The Wire. That's about it. Maybe interspersed with a little bit of, I don't know, Seinfeld and Living Single.
Well, I think just the practice of taping something that long,
mm-hmm.
You never know the patterns that are going to emerge.
Right, that's true.
I think it's relevant in the current political climate. I saw someone, on like Instagram or something, did a project where they just depicted Lego policemen over the past 30 years.
Mm.
Like because they had Legos when we were kids, and you would get like the community, and it just showed how policemen and depictions of policemen had changed over the years.
Just with looking at the Legos.
Just by looking at the Lego men.
Wow, that's interesting.
And it is fascinating what you see in the most sort of innocuous kind of sources. Like you would never think about it. And like I said, I watched like 10 minutes of this documentary, and the 10 minutes she was talking about that. She was basically talking about the patterns that emerge.
Okay.
And the sort of secret language of the media. And it was fascinating. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
I recommend it as well. We also recommend, ladies and gentlemen, there was the Hollywood Reporter put out a critics list, a critics pick 10 great underseen films about Black America, from docs to literary heroes in the LA riots to a romantic two-hander that launched an auspicious career, a quietly groundbreaking 1964 indie to a rollicking biopic. Here are 10 terrific and timely movies about Black people in America that deserve more attention. This listing, which you can find on our Facebook group, the Micheaux Mission, it has a couple of interesting documentaries. There was a documentary from 2009, actually an HBO documentary, The Apollo, done by Richard Ross Williams, which chronicles the history of the iconic Black American music venue, the Apollo Theater in Harlem, featuring the usual roundup of talking heads, with an impressive amount of archival footage. It's practically a concert film showcasing many of the notable Black entertainers of the last century. That sounds good. I seem to remember when that premiered on.
Yeah, I remember it was out and I missed it. What year did you say that was?
2019, just last year.
Yeah, I don't know how that slipped through, but yeah, that does sound good.
That sounds good. There's Brother to Brother, which is actually available from 2004, which is actually available on Amazon Prime. Director Robert Evans' Sundance prize-winning debut moves back and forth in time between New York City in the early aughts and the heyday of the Harlem Renaissance. That sounds
Oh,
kind of
okay.
that sounds interesting. Anthony Mackie stars in it as a young gay artist who is kicked out of the house by his family and ends up exploring his identity under the guidance of an elder played by Roger Robinson. That sounds
Okay.
good though.
Yeah,
That,
excellent.
that sounds good. Um, there's quite a few picks on here. Some of them that we've actually covered, films that we've reviewed. Barry Jenkins' feature debut, Medicine for Melancholy, was an
You,
early
you
reviewer.
you know that's our jam. You
That
know
that
we were Barry Jenkins fans early and often.
that's right. The
Early,
very slept on Nothing But a Man, um,
absolutely.
with Ivan Dixon, which we heralded as a movie that was deeply slept on, and movie people should return to, is on
Yeah,
this list as well. Uh,
absolutely.
as well as the 2007 biopic Talk to Me by Cassie Lemons and featuring
Yeah,
Don Cheadle in the role of Petey Green.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We were big fans of that too.
yeah. So there's a few films on this listing. You can check it out. It's from the Hollywood Reporter, ladies and gentlemen. 10 underseen films about a Black America. So check out that listing. It is worth checking out, and all of those films are worthy to check out. Okay.
Very nice, very nice.
Speaking of films worthy to check out, Vince, did you have an opportunity to watch Spike Lee's The Five Bloods?
I did not. I did not. I was telling you the weekend I looked up and the weekend got away from me, which is it's so surreal. It's like we started with you're kind of stuck in the house and we're all sheltering in place and somehow just adapting. I looked up and I'm busy again.
Right. Yeah. That's
You
how it
know,
happens, man.
the funny thing is it's a lot of stuff I'm busy in this room or
What are
like
you recataloging your comic books?
no, just doing working, distance work and
Oh, I got you.
and
I got you.
and doctor's appointments and talking to students but it's like you look up and you're busy, but you physically haven't moved.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's the weirdest thing. Like
That's very true.
we needed gas a couple of days ago, and it was weird getting gas.
It was weird.
Yeah, it was like, wow, I don't know the last time we needed gas. Because you've just
Okay.
been sitting here, you just sit
That's
here.
true. That's true. The world
But
is
somehow
opening
you're
up.
busy.
That's very
So,
true.
but
Well,
no, I did not get a chance.
The Five Bloods debuted this past Friday on Netflix. It's Spike Lee's film that is garnering a fair amount of attention, and it looks like, for the most part, that I've seen relatively good reviews everywhere that I've read about the film. Anyway, Anthony Anthony Sterling checked out the film. It says, "Good morning, fellow missionaries. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Delroy Lindo was amazing. The cinematography was great, which is nothing new for a Spike Lee joint. The
Right.
story, while it has its run-of-the-mill tropes, was good and never had any dead or dry moments. The characters, I felt, were fleshed out nicely, and even though the film is over 2.5 hours long, it doesn't drag at all. I actually recommend you check it out. Spike did a great job." So that's
Very
one.
nice. Very nice. Well, that's good to know. It is certainly on my list.
Yeah, yeah. I actually did watch the film, um, and I am holding on to my review until you, Vince, get a chance to check it out, so that we can kind of cross-reference exactly how we both feel about the film. So
Okay.
looking forward to when that day comes. All right.
Okay. All right.
Just just as you, Vince, I understand, are looking forward to the time when I can say that, yes, Vince, I have watched the 20-minute comedic screed that one Dave Chappelle unleashed onto YouTube in the past few days in regards to the ongoing protest and the killing of George Floyd.
Yeah, 846. 846 is what it's called, which is of course a reference to the time that the police officer, kneed George Floyd. It's remarkable.
Really?
Like it's definitely remarkable. I think I'll wait till you see it. There are a couple of things about it that kind of made me go, like Dave Chappelle has shown that he has some blind spots,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of those blind spots peek out. But it's a remarkable piece of art, and I suspect that when we look back at this moment, this is going to be one of the cultural artifacts that we speak of.
Just speaking about Dave Chappelle in general and his blind spots that you referenced, right?
Yes.
As a comedian, right? Do you feel, and not saying that you're a comedian, but considering that Dave Chappelle is a comedian, do you feel that he suffers from blind spots, or does he sometimes get up on that stage and knowingly push buttons? Is he acting in the way of a provocateur sometimes?
No. I think it's actually blind spots. I think, unfortunately, there are, you don't want to say most. Like, you always have to watch a word like most.
Right.
But I do think that there are many, frankly, Black men in our age group that we have, we have this blind spot with sexism. We have this blind spot with trans rights. We have this blind spot with just gender, just other rights. Like, unless you are male and you are straight, we just have a blind spot. We just don't really know how to address gay people, all of that. And I think the two key points that kind of made me go with Dave, like he goes through this kind of timeline of these issues, and he talks about a series of victims, and he's establishing that this is a continuum. Like, this didn't begin because of George Floyd.
Right.
And he doesn't mention any women.
Okay.
Like how do you not mention Breonna Taylor?
Right.
When you're talking about all this. And then, there's this moment where he talks about Candace Owens that kind of, I thought it was unnecessary. Like, it's so many reasons or so many ways you can address Candace Owens.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's a fraud. Like, she's a complete fraud. Like, she doesn't believe anything that she says whatsoever. And she's just not that intellectually dense or nuanced.
Right.
Like she doesn't come across as particularly intelligent. She just sort of parrots the kind of conservative talking points that everyone in that kind of slush bucket says.
Right.
But because she's a Black woman, people kind of listen to her.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, I don't know, like Juan Williams or Shelby Steele or like Condoleezza Rice. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there are some Black conservatives that, I don't agree with. Like, I don't agree with them.
Right.
But they are thoughtful and sort of they're true believers, and you have to respect them for their stance. And then it's kind of that post Sarah Palin circus.
Right.
And sideshow where they're all just trying to get on Fox and be a commentator and make money. And Candace Owens is very much in that tradition.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But you can talk about that without calling her out her name.
That's true.
And saying, saying this real kind of sexist, misogynistic stuff. Like, you can actually critique her intellect and her
comedically.
Comedically, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Without doing, especially when it's part of a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So, but regardless, flawed or not, it's amazingly powerful.
Okay.
Like, it's amazingly powerful. And like I said, I think it's like 26, 27 minutes, I think.
Okay.
There are 10 minutes where I don't know if I breathed. Like the first 10 minutes are I don't even know how to describe it. Now, for the record, you're talking about him as a comedian. It's not funny at all.
Okay.
Like there's nothing funny about 846.
Okay. So this is not him up on a stage, is it? I haven't seen.
Well, he is on. The funny thing is he is on a stage.
Okay.
You know, they've kind of got a socially distanced club situation going on.
Okay.
But and he kind of references that you know, people have kind of started back, and you know, apparently there were some shows at a drive-in and people kind of honked if they thought something was funny. He said that doesn't really work for me.
I got you.
But he's definitely on a stage. He's definitely like it makes you think, and you know, you hate to always pull out the Richard Pryor card, but you remember when Richard Pryor had that wonderful monologue about being in Africa?
Yes, yes.
But in the, you know, maybe 15 minutes that he talked about being in Africa, there were like 7 minutes that weren't funny at all. He just sort of talked about his humanity and talked about, and it got real. That's what this is like.
Okay.
You know, he's just this master storyteller and this master social critic. And it's this wonderful, it's like this beautiful anger and rage that comes out. So,
all right, I can't wait to check
you definitely have to, definitely have to check it out.
I look forward to it. Most definitely. 846 available on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle. If nothing else, it's something to see. So check it out, ladies and gentlemen. All right, it is time for us to get into our review. But before we do, we invite each and every one of you to like and follow us on all the social medias at The Micheaux Mission. And it's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Join the Facebook group where we have a lot of fun talking back and forth to each and every one of our missionaries or a fan. And if you want to really help the show, there's 2 ways you can help us. Go on the podcast catcher of your choice, especially if it's Apple Podcasts, and leave us a ranking and a review. I don't want to tell you to leave us a 5-star review. You move with your heart. All reviews are very appreciated. All we know is that the more reviews that we get, then the more people are apt to find our show. And that's all we can ask. And then if you want to help support us and keep this show moving and trucking along, please go to themicheauxmission.com, hit swag, and check out all of the cool things that we have available for you, courtesy of T Public. We got a lot of t-shirts and sweatshirts and mugs and whatnots that you can get for yourself, and all of that goes a long way towards helping the Micheaux Mission stay up and running and coming out on a weekly basis for you, because we plan to watch every Black film ever made, and we're on episode 210. We've got a long way to go.
Because they keep making them.
They
keep making them.
They do. It's funny, Vince. It's funny this brings up. I was actually speaking to a dear friend of mine who has recently come aboard as a missionary to the show.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, they came on right at the time when we were in the midst of Mother May I Have Another One of These Bad Films. So they were of the mindset of, excuse me, do y'all review good Black films? Because so far, I'm having a hard time, because they're watching the films along while we're reviewing them. I'm having a hard time, because this mission, like, yo, I'm about to give up this mission. Like, I'm done. Y'all win, you know? I'm about to, like, give up the white flag. And then they made it to they made it to the first week in June, Black Music Month. They're just like, okay, so it'll be Black music movies, so I can deal with that. And then the first one is Fame. You know, say what you want about the film. I think we both landed on it's not a Black film. So they're like, y'all don't even review good Black films. Like, what's going on here? I feel like I want my money back.
It's like when Truckee went to the farm with Pootie Tang and stayed there for 15 minutes. And he said, "You got this. All this dirt, grass in my hair."
Exactly, man. So,
right.
So hopefully the last couple of weeks,
Right.
and will, you know, help keep
Yeah.
a fan, help keep a
And there's a
going.
whole archive. There's a whole archive.
That's true, but they, you know, I guess they're watching in real time,
They
and
just
you
want
know,
to. Okay. All
and
right.
they're finding it hard, man. I mean,
Hey,
applause to them for watching the films as we go along.
I
But
know. I
that
know.
can be a daunting task, man.
I was about to say, let us watch the film. No reason for you to watch The New Barbarians.
Exactly.
The New Barbarians.
I know exactly. When you had to sit through that, I'm like, we might owe you some swag.
I know.
But hopefully they had a better time with Sparkle. I
Well,
don't know.
hopefully. We'll see in a moment.
We'll see in a moment, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
because it's time for our review of 2012's Sparkle. It's always funny now that we do this live because it's the part where we just sit here because
and we can't talk crazy like we usually do.
I know.
Like, this will be the part where I'd probably be talking about Tika Sumpter, saying some things that probably shouldn't be recorded.
No. Exactly. This is where that would be, you know, quickly excised and cut from the recording.
Lynn, this ain't part of the review. When Sparkle and Sister came back from the club right after the credits, and Tika Sumpter opened the door and had on like the pink nightie, I said, "Whoa!
Okay,
what movie is this?" Tika Sumpter did not come to play with y'all.
No, she did not. All right.
Right.
Here's the crazy part. Also, is that for editing purposes, this is also the part where, you know, we generally try and be a little quiet, so that when I go and edit it, I can.
You go to edit. You can see it on the jointy joint.
Yeah,
on the jointy
recording.
Joint. Yeah.
But now we just keep yapping. So
now we just keep yapping. I
gotta listen to us anyway.
Oh no, not that.
Okay. Are you ready, Vince?
I am ready.
Sparkle is a 2012 American musical film directed by Salim Akil and produced by Stage 6 Films. It is a remake of the 1976 film of the same name, which centered on three singing teenage sisters from Harlem who form a girl group in the late 50s. The remake takes place in Detroit, Michigan in 1968 during the Motown era and stars Jordin Sparks, Derek Luke, Mike Epps, CeeLo Green, Carmen Ejogo, Tika Sumpter, Tamala Mann, Omari Hardwick, and in her final feature film role, Whitney Houston. Sparkle also features songs from the original film, which were written by soul musician legend Curtis Mayfield, as well as new composition by R&B artist and Cancel King R. Kelly.
Oh, and no.
This film was Vince's selection for this stop in our celebration of Black Music Month. Vince, what say you of 2012's Sparkle?
What say I of 2012 Sparkle? Well, I think this is a film that can be part of a conversation that you and I have had over the years, both on and off this show. And that is the necessity of remakes.
Okay.
Generally, I'm against remakes. Like just off the top, I'm against remakes, especially in the time that it's funny. We were just referencing having episodes in the archives that people can get to. I think we are living in this moment where everything is so digitized and everything is so accessible that there's never a moment that a lot of this art is inaccessible.
Right.
So I say that to say, when you and we've talked about, for instance, the Disney remakes that they've been doing the past few years, and you and I actually went and saw Aladdin last year at the preview. The sort of sentiment that, oh, you have to remake this to introduce it to a new audience, like that's always the kind of go-to catchphrase, introducing this to a new audience. But there is no new audience. Like, people have seen Aladdin, people have seen Lion King, people have seen all of these films, so that generally it comes across as a money grab, and or it's just creatively deficit, in my mind.
Okay.
Just the whole concept of the remake, unless you're talking about something like, my favorite example of remakes, the 3 versions of Richard Matheson's I Am Legend,
right,
where you have Vincent Price's Last Man on Earth, you have Charlton Heston's The Omega Man, you have Will Smith's I Am Legend.
Right.
3 films, same story. They do it different enough that all 3 of them are their own entities.
Yes, and all 3 movies, I should say real quick, just to interject, are decidedly a couple of generations apart. That's the difference with them.
They are a couple of generations apart. But again, back to my Aladdin and Lion King example, I don't know how many 14-year-olds or 12-year-olds went to see Aladdin who haven't seen the cartoon.
Right.
So even that argument in 2020 about generations apart doesn't hold that much water with me.
Okay.
So you start there with Sparkle. And I think this is a movie that had a lot of things working against it, had a couple of things working for it. The things working against it, again, it's a remake. Not only is it a remake, as you mentioned, this is a bit of a cult classic.
Yes.
When we talk about 70s Black films. And whether we are talking about Lynette McKee's performance as sister, whether we're talking about the legitimately iconic image of the sisters giving him something he can feel.
Yes.
There is this sense of history that you have to overcome when you're making Sparkle. I think the other thing that this film had to deal with that's not its fault is that this is very much, appropriately enough, because we watched it last week, a film that is sitting in the shadow of Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
Dreamgirls is 6 years before this, but I do think the reach of Dreamgirls very much makes you think about it as you're watching this film. And then finally, I think the difficulty that this film had, and this was something that was evident from the moment that they announced the cast. I think Whitney Houston pulls so much gravity towards her, not as a performer, not as an actress, not as a singer, but just Whitney Houston at this moment.
Yeah.
And there was so much attention to Whitney Houston in this movie. There was so much attention to what it meant. There was so much attention to, is this going to be the beginning of a comeback, that it was really difficult for all of that to get over those humps. On the other hand, I think if you had to remake a 70s movie, this is a good one to make, because for all of its cult status and iconography, Sparkle is really the original Sparkle, 1976, is not really that dense of a film. Like, there's not a whole lot to Sparkle. Like frankly, without the Curtis Mayfield produced Aretha Franklin sung soundtrack,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much we talk about Sparkle.
Right.
So Sparkle, the film, I think is in a lot of ways a blank slate. When you look at the script, when you look at the performances, when you look at the actual film. And I think that is a good place to start. Yeah, as you mentioned, Salim Akil directed it. But Salim Akil is part of a team. His wife, Mara Brock Akil, wrote the script.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of the Akils as storytellers. You know, you talk about, you know, a lot of their work has been in television, talk about Girlfriends. You talk about right now they're working on Black Lightning.
Right.
And a lot of what I love about them is in this film, and it works. I think this is a film that looks good, but the way it looks is kind of grounded in this palpable love that these storytellers have for Black people in Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is such a lived-in world. Whether we're talking about the clubs, whether we're talking about the church scenes, which frankly, I actually wanted a movie about the church that Whitney Houston's character went to, and Michael Beach is the preacher.
Yeah.
You know,
almost
you have
unrecognizable. Almost
unrecognizable. I think back to the kind of slight nature of the characters in the first film. Mm-hmm. I think they've deepened the characterizations in a way that, for the most part, work really well. Sister is a much more complicated character in this film. She's a really nuanced. Carmen Ejogo is an actress that I've liked for a long time. I like her a lot, and I think she does well as Sister, as this sort of, again, this hurt, nuanced, sexy, complicated older sister who you understand how she gets into the situations that she gets into. Perhaps the biggest change between this and the first film is that the main antagonist, Sister's boyfriend, Satin, was changed from a gangster into a comedian played by Michael Epps. And I'll just say this, Michael Epps has never been better than he was in this film. Yeah. Michael Epps has never been better than he was in Sparkle. And with everything that I just said about the publicity that this film got, like there was a lot of publicity around Whitney Houston. There was this was supposed to be a star-making turn for Jordin Sparks. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, the real story is Michael Epps.
Yeah, I agree.
He is phenomenal in this film as this morally compromised, self-loathing comedian at this moment. And he dominates and steals every scene he's in this film.
Absolutely every scene he is in, you cannot take your eyes off him.
Tika Sumner is the third sister who barely exists in the first film. I think they smartly kind of beefed up her role, and she's good. She's good. And this is actually the film that made me notice Tika Sumner. I was joking before, in the middle of break. She's drop dead gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Tika Sumner is actually drop dead gorgeous throughout this film. And she's funny, and she's kind of, spicy with her tongue. And you see her evolution as a character, and she wants to go to school. And she's also really, really good. Whitney Houston, I think it's really hard, or at least it was difficult for me. It's really hard for me to separate Whitney Houston's performance from where Whitney Houston is at this moment in her life. It probably is worth noting Whitney Houston would die 3 months after the filming of this movie. And Whitney Houston does not look well.
No.
Whitney Houston does not look well. It was a sad moment in my house. I watched it with my daughter, and at one point Camille said, "Who is that actress?" And I said, "Baby, that's Whitney Houston." And she was like, I thought she kind of looked like Whitney Houston, but I wasn't sure that was her.
Mm.
And I think her voice is gone. She has one performance in the film where she sings her, his eyes on the sparrow, and it's absolutely heartbreaking because her voice is a shadow of Whitney Houston's voice. But somehow that works for me because this is a tragic character. This is a character who, as the film outlines, has all of her dreams have been deferred. And she at one point actually says she is a cautionary tale for her daughters who are trying to pursue music. Mm. And I don't know how much of it is me kind of projecting, thinking that Mar Akil's script integrated Whitney Houston's story into those words.
Well, she certainly sounds like she's adding, doing some self-reflective commentary in her monologues in this movie.
Right. So even if Whitney Houston's performance doesn't evoke the emotion that it should based on the performance, I think Whitney Houston herself gets it across. And then there's, Derek Luke's in it. Derek Luke, I like Derek Luke in some things. Derek Luke didn't really make me write down any notes in this. But I really think, he wears a suit. He's the love interest. He does his thing. And then there's Jordin Sparks as the lead character. And I think, on the one hand, I can understand Jordin Sparks being in this film because, frankly, Irene Cara's acting was nothing to write home about.
Irene Cara, who played Sparkle.
And who played Sparkle in the first film, and that's actually part of the story. Sister is the performer. Sister is the entertainer. Sparkle is in the background, and it's only when Sister crashes and burns that Sparkle has to step forward.
Right.
But I think one thing that the first film does very smartly, frankly, is that it keeps Irene Cara from the foreground as long as it possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. The first film is an hour and 42 minutes.
Right.
I think Sister dies maybe an hour, 20, 25 minutes in. So you really do get maybe 15 minutes of Irene Cara, where we're supposed to believe that now she's going to carry this film. This film, and you and I talked about it, just, give people a little peek at how the sausage is made. Lynn said a little slick comment about the movie, and I was watching it, but I hadn't got all the way through it. I was like, hey, I liked it. I'm liking it. But there's a moment about an hour and a half in where within 30 seconds, Carmen Ejogo, Mike Epps, Tika Sumpter, all taken off the stage.
Yeah.
And they're no longer in the film. And now Jordin Sparks has to carry the film on her own. And it's just not there.
Right.
She can sing. She can sing. She can blow. There's they give, it's like a 10-minute concert, basically. Mm-hmm. But it's almost, speaking of the shadow of Dreamgirls, Jordin Sparks, much like Jennifer Hudson, is an alumna of American Idol. And you got the sense that people hoped that they would get that type of magic from Jordin Sparks.
Right. That
Dreamgirls got from Jennifer Hudson. And it's just not on the screen. It's just not there. So that ultimately, I don't know if this is a remake that justifies its own existence.
Mm.
But if it does, it barely does. It really is a case of, which way is the wind blowing? How are you feeling when you watch this? Whether or not the good outweighs the bad, and whether or not this is an example of what I always talk about with these remakes. Could this talent have been better utilized in another project?
Right. It's funny that you mentioned that this is definitely has Dreamgirls in its rear window, right? Because Dreamgirls, while not being a remake, it is a reimagining of a stage production for the screen. So it has to figure out, okay, how do we take what is ostensibly a musical play and make this palatable as story wise as a feature film. And for the most part, I think Dreamgirls succeeds. It maybe is a hair too long, but for the most part, it succeeds, right? With reimagining it for the film while fleshing it out for the film without losing the energy of a stage performance. The difference with Sparkle, while both properties, are in the same, kind of like they're kind of like telling the same story of a girl group, the rise and fall of a girl group. The difference with Sparkle is the 1976 film, maybe by virtue of it being from 1976, or maybe it's by virtue of being influenced by all the other films of the 1970s, be they black films or even some of the more auteur films that were being made in Hollywood. The original Sparkle has a grit to it. There's a feeling of like import to that story, which infuses it with a realistic groundness that even though this is ostensibly a story about these three women who take on a glamorous pursuit, they still feel very relatable, right? And despite what you may say about Irene Cara's acting in that film, which is not anything to write home about, there is still something about her and her doe-eyedness that comes across as authentic in that film. That film does have Lynette McGee, who with just stepping onto the scene is sultry and sexy and everything that you want Sister to be. And it also has supporting it a very young Philip Michael Thomas and someone who I sometimes give a little flack to, but I know someone who you love, Mary Alice, grounding that film as the sister's mother in that film, right?
Right,
so,
right.
And one of the things I remember is that iconic moment, like you said, of them singing, giving him something he can feel, of that particular number being shot very evocatively through the arms of the crowd. You are actually in the crowd seeing them on stage. You never really get a full feeling of them on stage. As opposed to this film, Sparkle, I think is definitely trying to be Dreamgirls light, as opposed to trying to carry over or do something with its original property and trying to take some of that energy and put it in a 2012 box. And I think that is the biggest reason why I found this film to be an absolute failure for me. Like I didn't like this movie from the dough. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, you said it, Mike Epps. I've never thought much of Mike Epps as a comedian. Like I've seen some of his stand up and I thought he's okay. He made me ha ha, but I've never thought much about him. But this is not the first time that either one of us have been on this mission and have applauded something Mike Epps has done as an actor in the film. And you are right. You cannot take your eyes off him in this film. He is so slippery and slick in this film. It's so morally corrupted, like you say, yet it comes off as authentic because you feel that he believes in what he's doing. He believes that he is doing what he has to do. He's like, no, I'm not cooning. I'm a Sambo, actually, if you really want to put it on the nose.
Wow.
I mean, that was just such a and that was with no apologies at the dinner table. You know,
Yeah.
He is fantastic in this film, and I honestly could have just watched the film with him and Carmen Ejogo, just pop them out of this film and put them in a story, and I am there. I am there for how many hours you want to sign me up, because their energy off of one another is just palatable and just pops off the screen. The shame of this film is that this was not the breakthrough that a lot of critics thought that this film would be for Carmen Ejogo. That is how good she is in this film. She had a hard task to follow. Following in the footsteps of Lynette McGee's performance in Sparkle is no easy feat. And I'm not going to say that she 100% kicks it out the park, because I don't think she has the natural sultriness and sexiness that Lynette McGee has, but she's damn close. I will give her that. She was damn close, and like you said, her story is beefed up to the point where she does have a little bit more room to shine in this film, and she takes advantage of that. So the two of them that are to be championed from this film. Everything else in this film is an abject failure. Even your girl Tika Sumpter, who I know is a quality actress, but I find her that, except in some moments, for the most part, acting down towards the performance. I don't think she, I don't feel the script does her any favors. I don't feel the script does any of the actors any favors. That's why you've got to bring more to the table, such as Mike Epps and Carmen Ejogo do. I don't think that Tika Sumpter, in her defense, young in her career at this time, brings anything extra to the script, except only on a couple of times she does pop as the best actress in the room outside of those two who I previously mentioned.
Right.
And I feel the same thing is true about Derek Luke in this film, who is an actor who I find myself liking, but I was actually asking a question while I was watching this, like, why isn't he more of a success? I think he has the looks, he has the chops, but I guess maybe he's just picking the bad roles, because this film doesn't do him any favors either. Jordin Sparks is way out of her league. And I think that may be the reason that Deborah Battle hit it right on the nose. This movie has almost nothing to do with the lead character, as she mentions, and that's true. I think that is very true. I think that's the reason why they kind of like keep pushing her, her further in the back in this film. And when they do turn it over to her, she can't run with it. She can't pick up the ball and run with it. And again, that's not her fault. She went on American Idol to be a singer. She can sing. She's not Jennifer Hudson, but she can sing. So I'm not going to say that the woman cannot sing, but she didn't go on American Idol to be an actress. And unfortunately, that does show in this film. This is not, the coming out for Jordin Sparks that I think that they envisioned. And Whitney Houston, like you said, is just a tragic feature. It's just a tragic figure in this film. I feel for her, like, every time she is listless in this film. She absolutely has no energy. I mean, you talk about her not having any voice even in her singing performance, that she, to her credit, kind of powers through, but you're waiting for the crescendo that Whitney Houston just can't give you anymore. But she doesn't even have a voice when she's speaking her role in her line readings. She's just really bad, man. And the script doesn't do her any favors. Again, it alludes to this previous career that she had when she was trying to get out there as a singer, but it doesn't really give you any inkling of what her experience was with that. You don't even
Right.
see any, like, you don't even see her or the daughters maybe just looking through old photo albums of their daughter just to get of their mother to get a glimpse of what she was. So it's all what the script is telling you. It doesn't give you any true backstory for that. And therefore, the anger that she has in refusing to let Sparkle follow her dream just comes off as like monstrous. It's like damn, like I understand you had, you saying that you had a bad experience. Well, what was the experience? You're not even telling her about what the
Right.
experience is,
Right.
So like the script doesn't do her any favors as well. And I also found that the direction was kind of bad in this film. They moved the setting of the movie from the 50s in the original to Detroit in 1968, the
Yeah.
time of Motown, specifically the time that Motown will soon be making its sojourn from Detroit to Los Angeles in the midst of the riots that are taking place in Detroit. All
Right.
of this is alluded to by the film Never Seen. You never get, at least me, one, I never truly got a sense that we are in 1960s Detroit. I felt that the set design, the costuming was all over the place. You could have picked Jordin Sparks and Carmen Ejogo out of this film, pick any scene, and plop them into a 1990s movie, and you wouldn't have had to change their look one iota.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just felt that I never got a true sense of place that we were in Detroit, a true sense of time that we were in, truly in the 60s. I just felt that there were just piecemeal, old car here, old car there. Maybe this person has on an afro. Derek Luke's got maybe a little bit more hair on his head.
Right.
Okay, Satin, Mike Epps' character's got the process in his hair, but he wears it throughout the film, so there's no real passage of time seen with that character either. I just really did not get that sense of time with this film that it hoped to evoke, and and the movie is 2 hours long. There's absolutely no reason for this movie to be 2 hours
Oh,
long, man.
well, that goes without saying. It's too long. It's especially in a film that basically we've all kind of come down to. It's almost trying to hide Sparkle.
Yeah.
Like something that you realize. Speaking of changes that they made from the original, Sparkle is the songwriter in this, as opposed to in the first film where she's just a singer. So even a lot of that potential dramatic exchanges between the songwriter and the singer are gone.
Yeah.
And it's just her by herself. I thought your observation about the sense of place, I guess, well, first and foremost, I don't know. I don't think Ruth Carter did the costuming in this film.
That's true.
I almost got the sense that this was an idealized version of the 60s.
Mm.
Like they weren't really going for, documentary footage. And I think we can disagree with that decision. But I think that was, I very much got the sense, again, back to the depiction of the church, back to the depiction of the clubs, even if you look at the scene where they have the Bible study at their house,
right?
It was almost, for lack of a more elegant way of saying it, almost like a Black Happy Days kind of approach to it.
Yeah, you're right.
So I agree with you, but I don't know if that's necessarily what they were going for.
Yeah, but the script keeps making allusions to the riots in the streets. But you don't get any sense of that, dog.
Right. But I don't know if that's this movie. Like, Sparkle ain't really
Then don't
about the
say
riot.
it. Then don't say it. You don't need to say it. You don't
No,
need
no,
the
no.
riots. You don't need the backdrop of the riots in your mind to tell this story.
Well, I think they talk about the riots through the prism of the music that's being made.
Exactly.
And you got to make different kinds of music. So, you know, you don't have to show the riots if you're just talking about it through the music.
Well, but if you're talking about the music needs to change, then you need to show why the music needs to change. You just can't walk into the studio, oh, y'all need to change. Why? You're not giving us any reason.
You're not giving us any reason. So you don't think the assumption that the audience comes to it with, even if it's just an idealized version of the riots, is enough? Because again,
No.
I don't think that's what this movie is.
No, I don't.
Trying to be a snapshot of the 60s.
I don't think it's trying to be a snapshot of the 60s either. But there's still, I mean, even if you only show the riots on the television, every time we go to the television, we're watching some faux, what was his name? Ed Sullivan show with somebody performing on it. So it's
because
not even like
it's
you're
about
showing
the music. It's about the music. Like, I think it's a lot of reasons to pick this movie apart, but like, you can't be mad at a lemon for not being a pineapple.
Wait a minute. I don't think that's what I'm saying here. That's not what I'm saying.
You can't be mad at an orange for not being a tangerine. Is that better?
That's not what I'm saying, Vince. I'm saying what I'm saying is that I didn't like the movie. That's what I'm saying.
No, hey,
I didn't like the movie.
Hey,
I think it was a failure, and I don't think. And I can argue. You can argue whether or not, you know, speaking to your thing about remakes, whether or not Sparkle deserved to be remade. Right? I think that Sparkle, which you can find, ladies and gentlemen, we actually reviewed on the Micheaux Mission, was episode 55, so it's very, very early on in the mission, but it's there in the archives. We reviewed the original. I think that Sparkle, as much as I think we both came down on the side of liking the film, is definitely a film that is, you know, had its flaws and had places where it could have gone that it didn't go, so that you can argue that a remake is worth being explored. You can even argue that a remake is worth being explored if you pull it from its 50 settings and drop it in someplace else. But if you're going to drop it into another time period, then you need to show why you're dropping it into that time period, which means that you have to give the audience a true sense of what that time period is about. And I think that is, among many, a big failure of this film.
Well, I don't have to pick apart that failure, because I think there are other things in this film that misfire and don't work. To that initial argument, I agree with you. I actually think that Sparkle could be remade. And you know, frankly, I think a lot of the argument for why it could be made, you could see in the blueprint that they tried to utilize in this film. You kind of deepen the story, you kind of expand some of the characters, you kind of nip, you tuck it here and there. I actually like the direction. I think the script is okay. Like, I'm not really here to fight about the script, but I really do think the biggest misfire in this film is Jordin Sparks. But again, as we've talked about, if the one misfire or the one challenge a film has is the foundation that the film is built on,
right,
the rest of it falls apart. And, you know, what's sort of fascinating about this, examining it, is you almost get the sense that at some point in the process, they realized that Jordin Sparks was the weakest part of the equation. because there is this sort of shuffling around where we're doing all of these different aspects of the story,
right?
Except for the lead character.
Yeah.
And then when we just can't hold off anymore, the whole thing goes off the rails.
I want to jump real quick to the soundtrack for this. Now, they reimagined a few of the songs from the original. Of course, most evocatively, "Giving Him Something He Can Feel," which was written by Curtis Mayfield, sung by Aretha Franklin.
I think that's a good scene.
It's not a bad scene.
I think the introduction of Sister, kind of taking the crown of Sister from Lynette McKee, I thought that was a good scene. I thought that was a solid scene.
I thought it was okay. It was okay, right? And that's a song that was famously, like we said, sung by Aretha Franklin. Also was a huge hit for In Vogue as well.
Right.
So they had a lot of footsteps they had to follow in with this film. Here's another problem that I had with this movie. So we're led to believe that Sparkle, because she is now the songwriter, right?
Right.
So we're led to believe that she wrote a lot of the songs that they are performing.
All of the songs.
So we're led to believe that she wrote Yes I Do, which is Carmen Ejogo, which I actually think she's even sexier on that song than she is on Giving Him Something He Can Feel. She Jump, Hooked on Your Love, Something He Can Feel, like I mentioned, all of these songs, which were famously written and produced by Curtis Mayfield, right?
Yes.
So if we are led to believe that Sparkle wrote these songs, then yes, she is a songwriter worthy to be praised. And it's a no-brainer that she would be signed to a record contract, right?
Right.
Yet, the song that gets her this contract is One Wing, written by R. Kelly, which even before I knew it was written by R. Kelly, I said, well, this is the most pablum sounding song of this entire movie. And we're led to believe that this is the one that's going to get her over.
This is the one that gets her over. Yeah.
Are we serious? Never mind. We're going to talk about the interesting scene where Whitney Houston's character, who, as I mentioned, has been monstrous this entire film, right?
Yeah.
Just monstrous and 100% against her daughter's entering into this world of music, because it's nothing but the devil and it is against the Lord and everything.
That's right. The Lord don't like music.
And yet, when she finally comes around in the last 5 minutes of this movie, when she finally has an awakening and comes around, she shows up at her daughter's performance with not only a new dress, but a dress with a neckline that plunges down to her belly button.
Hey man, in for a penny, in for a pound. If you're going to be show business, you got to be show business. You got to give him something he can feel. That's a quote.
That's a quote that she
gives.
I was
like, whoa, mama, whoa, easy. Slow down. Yeah. Look, what you gonna do? Look, what you gonna do? I think the music is, ironically, the most forgettable part of the film.
I know. How do you take Curtis Mayfield? He gives you the background. He gives you the base upon which, because all of these songs are reimagined, they're reproduced,
right,
by different producers. he gives you the background. How do you rework those songs and you just totally diffuse them of any soul?
Look, I think again, Carmen Ejogo is a great actress. And I think she works with this material and gets across that sister is not here to sing. Yes. Sister is here to be sexy. Sister is here to be sister. And the irony is that she is almost least sexy when she sings.
Yes, yes, yes.
As opposed to, like you said, Lynette McKee is just sultry. And it just comes off of her. So, I think it's unfair to compare Carmen Ejogo's vocals to Aretha friggin' Franklin.
Oh, that's true. I'll give you that.
But even compared to Lynette McKee's performance, it pales in comparison. And likewise, Jordin Sparks, it's just no there as far as charisma and personality. And say what you want about Irene Cara. Irene Cara has presence.
Yes.
So that when Irene Cara would sing, it all comes out of her.
Yes.
So like your critique of Lil Wayne getting her signed, I mean, I didn't think it was any worse than the rest of them singing.
Well, true.
I mean, obviously it's not as good of a song as what Curtis Mayfield wrote, which, addendum, you and I went back and forth a couple of years ago. I said my favorite soundtrack from the 70s was the Claudine soundtrack.
Yeah.
I meant Sparkle. I got my Curtis Mayfield soundtracks mixed up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite 70s soundtrack. And like, I almost wish, what's the film that we watched? It was like from the 30s, and the actor, he did the Othello at the end of it.
Oh.
What was the name of that? There was like a rooming house, and he was an actor. But what made me think of it is he performed in blackface. But we never see him performing in blackface.
Yeah, you only see him taking it off.
We see him going on stage, and then we see him coming off stage.
Right.
And I almost wish they did that in this.
Yeah.
Like, I know you have to show sister being sister on stage, but I almost wish you could show them just coming off stage. Because the musical performances added nothing.
Yeah. So Vince, would you recommend that people watch 2012's Sparkle?
My instinct is to say no. Like, I really want to just say definitively no. But as you've pointed out, whether we're talking about Michael Epps in the Last Black Man in San Francisco, whether we're talking about Mike Epps in something that I enjoyed him very much, a fairly forgettable movie, Jump the Broom.
Oh, wow.
Whether we talk about Mike Epps in a couple of things where, like you, Mike Epps don't need to tell nary another joke ever again for Vince. Because like you, I never found him that funny.
Right.
Like in the Friday films, it was like, okay, all right, yeah, fine, sure, keep this thing moving along. And I find his stand-up utterly forgettable.
Right.
But he is amazing in this.
He is.
He is amazing in this. And I hate to just say, you don't need to see this full stop. And then you miss out on what I think is this actor's finest performance. But unfortunately, I don't know if that's enough to justify this film.
Yeah.
So it kind of hurts, but I have to say, no, I don't recommend it.
Say it with your chest, man.
Say
it with your chest, Vince.
Yeah. Say it with my chest. No, I don't recommend it.
All right. There you go. See how good that felt? Felt, Vince?
It doesn't feel good.
It
doesn't feel good.
Watch this. No, don't watch 2012 Sparkle. Done.
There you go. All right. Well, there you go. That's a double no from the Men of Micheaux. Terrible.
Before we tell you what we're going to be watching next week, as we round out and put a bow on our celebration of Black Music Month, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you, as always, to like and follow us on all social medias at the Micheaux Mission on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Join the Facebook group Micheaux Mission. It's the same name. Where we have a lot of fun talking with all of our missionaries. Dominique chimed in that, yeah, I think I'm biased because I love the original and was not feeling the remake. When I watched it, I said, oh, I might have enjoyed it more if it wasn't a remake.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Exactly. So join us, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate it. The Micheaux Mission is available as a radio show every Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. on WPPM 106.5 FM, Philly Cam, People Power Media here in the city of brotherly love. And you can listen to the Micheaux Mission every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Wake up with the Micheaux Mission on 91.7 FM WKDU, the voice of Drexel University here in the city of Philadelphia. The Micheaux Mission is a proud member of the Podglomerate Podcast Network, the Podglomerate curated podcast for your listening pleasure. And you can find us wherever you find podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Play. If there are podcasts there, the Micheaux Mission is there as well. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we are going to be very soon, doing some different videos and things out there for YouTube as well. Appreciate all of you who are taking the time. We've gotten a lot more subscribers over the past few weeks, and we appreciate each and every one of you who are
absolutely. Thank you.
Really
Thank
do.
you.
Really do. All right, Vince.
All right.
We're about to shut this baby down. Black
That's
Music
right.
Month.
Gonna close the curtain.
We're closing the curtain, putting a bow on it. And this film that we're going to be reviewing next week, ladies and gentlemen, is a film that not only did I select, but Vince selected. Actually, when we knew we were going to be doing Black Music Month, this is a movie that we both realized had to be the capper for the month, and we worked backwards from there. And that is the film from, oh wow, I just had the year. It's from the 90s, if I remember, Vince. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could this actually have been in the 90s?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't believe that, but you're absolutely right, Vince. It's from 1992. We are going to be watching Kevin Costner, and at the height of her powers,
oh my goodness,
Whitney Houston.
Just a force of nature in The Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard next week.
Is this her first film? This is her first film. Is this before Wait and Exhale?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think this is her film debut.
Wait a minute, Vince. This can't be. Is this Whitney Houston? This is her acting debut, Vince.
I believe, right. So we just had the last one, and now we'll go back to the first one. Yeah, Waiting to Exhale is 95.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, The Bodyguard, ladies and gentlemen, a groundbreaking film in more ways than one. Talking about soundtracks.
Yeah.
Next week here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vince, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.